What is up, everybody? Dr.Profit, aka Will. We got J Sleeper Stats, aka JJ. We got another Thursday Night Football episode for you. In week one, we were one leg short of a huge parlay cash. We're going for it all tonight. So, JJ's with me as always, sharp as hell. We got another parlay at the end. Make sure you watch until the end because we got a full analysis coming. But wait for the intro. Welcome back in, everybody. As always, we're going to break down the game, go over any important injuries, coaching decisions or schemes, run game, pass game, and then we're going to sum it all up at the end, give you guys not only the best bets, but the best parlays. So, JJ, how we doing, man?
We're doing pretty good. Week one was pretty interesting with quarterbacks not passing much. I think it was the average is under 200 yards a game for the league. And I think that was the lowest since like 2010 or 2012, which is ridiculous.
I think through the main slate, the average was 185, which is unbelievable. But what I didn't think about until after the week was over was the fact that the touchback has now moved to the 30-yard line instead of the 25. Probably didn't make that big of a difference, maybe like 20 to 30 yards over the course of the game for both teams, but that also includes the run game. So we saw some pretty horrible quarterback play. Part of that was because a lot of these quarterbacks didn't play at all in the preseason or their star receivers were holding out. So who knows what the actual reason is. It'll be interesting to see if that actually continues for week two, but we're just going to play it by ear until then. So what we got for this game? What's the big news so far?
Big news is Mostert is ruled out. I believe that was about an hour ago since this recording. It sounds like Devon should be good to go based off the beat reporter. He said he's most likely gonna play with a high ankle sprain. It sounds like, I believe. Is that what you've seen as well?
Some ankle injury. I think if it was a high, I could be wrong because I'm not remembering what it is, but I think if it was a high ankle sprain, it'd be more than 1 week.
Yeah. Either way, they're probably gonna drug him up and throw him out there. That's what the NFL does.
He was limited in practice today. It was a lighter practice. I don't know if it was for the team or for him, but I know it was light for him. But
it's probably a light practice overall because it's Wednesday. They play Thursday.
Yep. But like JJ was saying, the reports are that he looks like he's going to play, but nothing official just yet. So if things change after you watch this video, don't come for our heads. We're just the messenger. But on the Bills side, there's not much to share injury-wise. The big piece of news for me, I don't know how big this really is, after week one was Curtis Samuel. I expected him to be on the field a lot more than he actually was, especially considering how good he was with this offensive coordinator 4 or 5 years ago. And with Diggs gone, I thought he was going to fit in pretty seamlessly, add a new element to the offense. That didn't happen. He was not on the field. It was all Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir, and they ran a lot of 2 tight end sets. So, JJ, I know we were talking about Dalton Kincaid earlier, so I'll let you talk about that one.
Yeah, so I had him on my fantasy team this week, and as many as you know, if you had him on your team, it did not look good. But he did run like 80-something% route participation, so that is great. Looking at the film, it wasn't necessarily true bracket coverage, but they were sending help immediately as soon as Josh Allen was looking his way, whether it was just a double, triple, even a quadruple. The film is on there. If you just look through Twitter, I've never seen quadruple coverage for just a second-year tight end, but it happened.
It could be interesting to watch now because if the Dolphins don't double cover him, I know the adjustment in the last game was playing more 2 tight end sets and Dawson Knox was wide open, and he had a good game. So it'll be curious to see whether that continues onto this game or if it was purely scheme dependent. They run more 3 wide receivers, and now Curtis Samuel's on the field more, and Dawson Knox is sitting. I don't have the answer for you because honestly, I think it could go either way. Unless you're in the coaching room talking about that plan, I don't think anybody truly knows. So we'll see what happens there. But if they do run a lot of more 2 tight end sets, the run game will improve off of that, of course, because better blocking. But Curtis Samuel's the odd man out in that wide receiver group. So I think Coleman and Shakir are going to be fine. Curtis Samuel probably stay away from until we see more games. But that was really the only thing that I had to share for the Bills from week 1 in injury news, because there's not much injury news. But we can get into the run game, JJ. I'll let you take charge on that.
Yeah, so for the run game, looking at the Dolphins first, last year, just the Shanahan offenses in general, obviously like Mike McDaniel, all those guys, they run pretty similar offenses, run zone rushing concepts, ridiculous high rate during the league last year and the previous years. But this week, the Dolphins were primarily man gap. So I'm not sure if that's just primarily just pure matchup or that's something that's going to stick. But my guess is it's going to go back to being a zone concept type of running style. But with the running backs hurt, we'll see what they go with, because maybe they'll try to fit something in their scheme wise. It's try to make sure their running backs are going to be good to go. So I'm not sure how well HN is going to be able to run with that ankle, but sounds like Jeff Wilson Jr. should be able to step up. He knows the system well, so maybe they just go back to their zone scheme. And then with the Bills after the offensive coordinator firing last year, they were heavy with man gap concepts. But last week, it was pretty evenly split, about 14 carries in zone and then 12 man gap. So we'll see how it does there, whichever one they want to lean towards. I think both defenses were not as good as far as yards per carry. They're like below average defending zone. So maybe someone's going to pop off, and it could be Devon, even with the bad ankle. He's just that guy.
Yeah, I think the Devon angle that we're going to be able to play in this game is going to be fading Braxton Berrios, because the big thing over the course of the offseason was being able to use A-Chain more as a receiver and even having him running actual routes. And they saw him as a third wide receiver in a lot of sets, not only in this past game, but in the offseason. So if that continues and he's healthy, then whoever that slot guy is, that typical slot guy, which is Braxton Berrios, at least last season it was, he's going to continue to be somebody that doesn't see the field very often. But yeah, as far as the run games, Miami was really good on the run game last season. Like JJ was saying, they were a little worse against zone, and they've only gotten better this season, I feel like, as far as personnel. I think having a healthy Jalen Ramsey with a full off season.
I think they signed Calais Campbell as well.
Yep.
If I remember correctly.
Oh, yeah. That is correct. He also got arrested with Tyreek Hill, but that's a different video. We can make a whole video talking about that one. But I think there was one play where ETN ran like 20 yards in the backfield, ran back and forth, sideline to sideline, and almost broke through and like cut a corner. But Jalen Ramsey was running across the field with him and made the tackle. And it was like, those are some of the things that even though DBs, you don't tend to think of them having an impact on the run game, all it takes is one or two plays like that from a guy like Jalen Ramsey, and it does make a difference. So I would personally stay away from James Cook in this game. And as far as the Miami game, we don't know how healthy A-Chain is. We don't know how much work Jeff Wilson's going to get. The run game is just kind of an enigma to me. I'd stay away from that one.
And they split the work anyways in that backfield, so it's really hard to tell. You're just relying on pure efficiency and luck this week. Just who's ever guesses better is just that's what it's gonna be.
Oh yeah. And moving on to the receiving game, it's pretty straightforward. We've honestly covered a lot of it already. But the big thing that we're probably going to be hammering all season is, since the Bills lost Matt Milano to start the season, the middle of the field is wide open for teams to target, and that's exactly what the Cardinals did in week 1, and that's exactly what Miami's going to do in this game. And JJ, I know you found some data in terms of who to take between Waddle and Tyreek to target those middle of the field, because even in the Miami offense, even if the defense doesn't want you to, their whole offense is about getting guys in the middle of the field and letting them make plays. So it fits right into their offense, what they want to do. So then it comes with player props trying to figure out Waddle or Hill. So JJ, you got the floor.
Yeah, so I looked into the data. Shout out to Fantasy Points here. They have new data here where they separated the routes and all that. So we see how many routes they ran for different route types. And the ones that went across the middle was primarily Jalen Waddle. It was 15 out of 27 routes that there are types of routes that go across the middle. And Tyreek was at 9. And obviously, you want to target the middle of the field. Should be a Jalen Waddle game here tonight or
Yep.
Thursday.
It's interesting because you look at the game logs and Tyreek has a much better history against Buffalo than Waddle is, but we know there's new personnel, new coordinators that come in every year. Tyreek's last huge game against the Bills that I know a bunch of people are going to reference on Twitter, Waddle wasn't even playing. So historical data means very little in the NFL, like in certain circumstances, yes. So take it with a grain of salt in terms of Waddle having bad games in the past. I'm fine trusting him in this game, especially at home. But going to the Bills side, the Miami defense ran mainly cover 3 and cover 1 last week. And even though we saw him drop a couple key passes, Christian Kirk did really well out of the slot in the last game. So ideally going to target same spot in the Bills offense, and that's going to be Khalil Shakir. Keon Coleman is a rookie, great rookie, but still a second game. We already talked about Kincaid's probably going to have his work cut out for him, seeing a lot of different coverages. I don't really want to bet on Dawson Knox. So that leaves us with Curtis Samuel and Khalil Shakir. Curtis Samuel might not be on the field that often. Khalil Shakir is the clear winner given the circumstances between those guys. So I don't know. I know we talked about Shakir before this, but as far as analysis, is there anything that you wanted to add there, JJ?
Obviously, the two top people in the slot last week were Shakir and Kincaid, as you said. The difference is probably going to be the A dot, and with Shakir, his A dot was 3.3. I seen a lot of me and Will saw a lot before the game or this video. Dolphins played a lot of some deep drops, a lot of what was it? Yeah, so covered 1 and covered 3. Just they kept a lot of passes underneath as well. But when the Jaguars did want to rip it, they were able to with Christian Kirk. It's just a matter of having hands to catch the ball. But
They probably win that game if he catches those 2 passes, by the way.
Yeah, because I seen Shakir ran some routes. He ran a route in the backfield. Just everything underneath to small, like low A dot type of routes. This should be him all over on Thursday.
And Khalil Shakir, by the way, we getting a lot of vacated target with Diggs, and Shakir's good. Like he was underrated. He was just buried behind Davis and Diggs last year. So his lines probably it was low last week. It'll be low this week. I bet we'll get one more week of having valuable lines in week 3 before the books finally catch up. So even if the matchup wasn't great for him, which it is, I think his lines are still too low. But enough babbling. Parlay time. Dolphins -2.5. We talked about the fact that the way the Bills' defense is structured, the way they play, and where their weaknesses are, it fits right into what Miami wants to do, even if the defense doesn't want them to do it. But Bills want them to do it. So Dolphins -2.5 at home seems light work. Next up, Khalil Shakir. I don't think me and JJ can talk about him more than we have at this point. So I'm not going to add anything there. Jalen Waddle, 4.5 receptions. Again, we want to target the middle of the field against Buffalo, and he's the one that Miami likes to run their routes to the middle of the field. So 4.5 receptions for Waddle, light work. Again, plus 550, putting half a unit to win 3.25 or to pay 3.25 units. Lock it in. We went big last time. We lost by 1 leg. We are trusting ourselves, taking the surefire thing on this one, and that's going to be plus 550. Lock it in. You're going to regret it if you don't. Other than that, thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate everything. JJ, thank you for joining with me as always. Sharpest dude in the game. If you guys aren't following him on Twitter, make sure you're doing just that at JSleeperstats. Other than that, good luck on Thursday Night Football. Let's have a day and let's get ready for a great Sunday afterwards. Take care, everybody.